packing in towards the north and northwest in a fairly chilly north to northwesterly breeze. And once again, temperatures peaking in the high teens, locally to around 20 degrees. Further rain is expected around the middle of the week, giving way to sunshine and showers again on Thursday.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes and Kerr, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is two new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prisons?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard. We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often there will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good evening, I'm Rory Smith in the GB Newsroom. The government has sent a rapid deployment team to Rhodes to support British nationals as wildfires continue to spread across Greece. Evacuations are being described as the biggest in the country's history, as thousands of people flee homes and hotels. EasyJet will operate 3 flights from Rhodes next week to bring British holidaymakers back to the UK. Several holiday firms, including Jet2, TUI and Thomas Cook, have cancelled all flights to the island until the end of the month. Labour says its party gathering this weekend has laid the groundwork for an election-winning manifesto. A spokesperson says the final document produced by the National Policy Forum contains no unfunded spending commitments and will lead to the building of a better Britain. But the Unite Union says it can't support the document due to what it described as the weakening of language around zero-hour contracts. Reports suggest that London's Mayor Sadiq Khan is now in constructive listening mode over plans to expand London's ultra-low emission zone. It comes after opposition from within his own party over the policy, which was widely blamed for Labour failing to win the seat of Oxbridge and South Ruislip at the recent by-elections. It comes as Conservative MP Michael Gove says that some net zero measures should be relaxed. The Prime Minister says the government is on course to meet its target of building 1 million homes by 2024. Tomorrow, the government will outline plans to prioritise house building in inner city areas with the aim of not wanting to concrete over the countryside. It comes 2 weeks after a cross-party panel of MPs warned that Tory ministers are unlikely to deliver 300,000 new homes per year after the Prime Minister made the target advisory rather than mandatory. Ukraine's president says he had hoped to start a counter-offensive against Russia earlier, but lacked the necessary weapons. Volodymyr Zelensky told CNN the delay allowed Russia time to build several lines of defence, complicating his country's ability to fight back against the invasion. His comments come after Russia pummeled the city of Odessa in southern Ukraine, killing at least one person and damaging scores of historical buildings. Tributes continue to pour in for the British pop singer Vince Hill, who has died at the age of 89. His version of Edelweiss, first heard in The Sound of Music, reached #2 on the UK charts in 1967. In a career that included 25 studio albums, he worked with some of Britain's best-loved musical legends. He passed away peacefully at his home in Oxfordshire. TV, online, DAB+ radio and on TuneIn. This is GB News. Now though, time for headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm your host, Stephen Allen, taking you through your first look at Monday's papers. I'm joined by two comedians who missed songs of praise to prepare for this. It's Leo Kirsten and Victor Daniels.
It's all right, I taped it.
Oh, yeah,
I'll watch it when I get home.
Enjoying the heat wave?
Yep. Well, it's not much of a heat wave here. I feel like, last in June, everybody was like, oh my God, it's warm. That means climate change must be real. So is it not real this month?
No, because that's weather rather than climate, isn't it? I'm sure we're bad to get onto that. We seem to have to do every single day. Let's crack on to the front pages then. Let's start with the Daily Mail. I'm blessed my cancer was caught quickly, is their front page. The Times goes with Tory retreat from green policies to woo voters. The Guardian, thousands forced to flee Rhodes fire nightmare. The Express says hell on earth. iNews, Tories warned over fiddling with green policies while road burns. And finally, the Daily Star, wait for the green man. There's the pun. And those were your front pages. Let's get into this then. Kicking off with the in-depth look into the papers, the main news stories of the day. Let's go to the I paper, Leo.
So the I has Tories warned over fiddling with green policies while roads burn. So there's these forest fires, wildfires and roads at the moment, which, as we've already discussed, is weather and not climate. So there's no, it's not an indication of climate change or anything getting worse. It's just, if anything, it's because there's too many trees. We've got too many trees. We need to cut these trees down, then they won't be able to burn us. But basically, they're trying to whip up hysteria over this. They're saying amid devastating wildfires and an extreme heat wave across Europe. We left Europe, obviously, so we don't get a chunk of that. The Prime Minister has been warned it would be a mistake to tone down green policies, because that would make a sort of, what colour would that? Would make lilac. Yeah, it'd be like this shirt. So at the moment, the Prime Minister is looking again at sort of green policies because they're going to cost people a lot of money. And also, extreme weather. It's not really hitting Britain as badly as it's hitting, some other places. If we get extreme weather in the UK, we get extreme drizzle, which is just rain. And, if temperatures rise by 1.6 degrees, that just means that people in Scotland have to undo the top button on their duffel coat. It's not the end of the world in Britain. And the sort of green policies, like switching everybody over to these heat pumps and stuff like that, it costs loads of money. And what we sort of ignore with the whole fossil fuel thing is all our lifestyles, all the great things that we have, including, access to cheap and abundant food and clothing and transport and everything in our lives is due to the exploitation of fossil fuels.
I mean, even if we did get our energy from elsewhere, we'd still have to use oil to produce lubricants.
Yeah.
Victor, your take on this story? Is this? Are you worried by the rest of Europe burning?
I'm not worried by it at all. I feel that the Tories are using this disaster to just make money, because I looked into it some more and the police over there suspect arsonists. So...
There we go.
But just to slightly counter that, you know, for balance and all the stuff that we're meant to do, if you, as an arsonist, set fire to a tree, you burn a tree. But for it to absolutely go across all of the tinder-dry forest...
Yeah, but in that...
That's not... The arsonist didn't go around deliberately hair-drying everything to make it dry.
Yeah, but in that country, if you do set fire to a tree, the chances are it could start a bushfire.
Yeah, it's summertime.
What we're trying to say is it's not necessarily the weather that's caused this.
So what would, and this could, you know, we can both have a crack, all three have a crack answering this. What would you have to see to think, oh, yeah, this is a climate issue?
I'll have to see.
We're seeing increased amounts of extreme weather, so that for you doesn't prove anything.
Well, are we seeing increased amounts of extreme weather? I mean, all the weather stations tend to be, you know, because we've urbanised so many places, weather stations that used to be in a field are now surrounded by tarmac. So obviously that's going to increase the temperature measured by that weather station.
It's like in the 90s when they moved them. So if we just look at the data from the 90s, seeing an increase in the top temperatures, does that prove anything?
Well, if the government was to do something where the companies have to fall back on some of the influence that they're having on the weather, then yeah, then I'll say, OK, now it's a serious issue. But if all you're going to do is penalise the public, then it just seems like a money-making exercise.
Yeah. And also, if we go back through history, has the climate ever changed? I mean, is it something that sometimes just happens regardless of whether I drive my Audi to Swindon?
Let's have a look at the front page of the Telegraph. Oh, they got on their front pages. Something about banks, Victor.
Yes, 3 more banks close accounts over views.
Yeah.
It's getting worrying now. Yeah. I think I might have to move to North Korea. They seem to have more freedom over there. Like, you can't say nothing.
They've got a better rate of inflation as well.
Exactly. What's your bank got to do? What's your bank got to do with your views? That makes no sense.
Yeah. Are you worried now? You've appeared on this
I'm
show
very worried now. All the views that I say today are just jokes. Nothing is serious. So Nationwide, please, just keep my basic Flex account alive.
You don't want to get kicked out of Nationwide as well.
No way.
The benefits of being a long-term member there.
Exactly.
Oh, they know how to trap you. That's how they do it. Yeah, surely no one should think that this is a win, even if the people you disagree with politically don't have a bank account. You've not won any arguments there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't know the next managers of the bank or the next political regime might decide that you're the person with the incorrect political views. So, I mean, I don't know, I miss the days when banks just wanted money. They just wanted money, and they didn't care whether that came from cocaine dealers or Russian oligarchs or people who voted for Brexit. They just wanted the money. Just be a commercial organisation. Stop trying to mould the world in your own image, because that never works. And also, all the people who have bank accounts with Coots or who are worried that they've been spied on by their bank and they've been discussed and disparaged and defamed by their bank should ask for a DSAR, get a data subject access request. It costs the bank loads of money to process, and it can reveal, all kinds of nasty things like it did for Farage.
And I think we need to expose who is running these banks, because I'm starting to think it's Darth Vader, James Bond villains. I mean, we need to know who is closing these accounts.
Yeah, we'll look into that then, yeah. Next to The Guardian with a story about Spanish elections, Leo.
Yeah, so the Spanish election results, they had a general election today. They pulled a snap election. It sounded like they're pulling a cracker. But yeah, basically, for the first time since 1975, it looked like they call it the hard right. I call it the sort of sensible party.
You call it a bunch of lefties.
Yeah. It looked like they were going to actually, get to be part of form a parliament with the sort of centre-right People's Party. Which would be the first sort of right-wing people in government since General Franco was deposed as the dictator in 1975. However, it looks like they're not actually getting the majority. So People's Party and Vox, between them, they need 176 seats for a majority. It's at about 98% of the votes have been counted so far. They've got 169 seats, but it still means that the left don't have a majority either. So the right can either do some do some horse trading with some of the other smaller parties to see if they can form a coalition government with them, or they'll go to another election. And today was an interesting day to have an election because they've had extreme heat. It's the middle of summer, so people are away on holiday. So it's not a normal time to have an election. So if the can did get kicked down the road, it'd be interesting to see if all those people who because if you can afford to go on holiday, you're probably right wing. So they would probably vote for Vox.
So basically, my trip to Spain with Ryanair is still on.
It's still on.
Still safe.
It's still on. And I think whoever gets into power, you're still going to be able to go to Spain.
Because I was telling all my black friends in Spain to move to Croydon. Right. So they're safe.
Well, yeah, I mean, Croydon and the UK is going to be like pretty much the only left-wing country in Europe. The whole of Europe is going to the right. It's glorious to see. Yeah. But obviously, in the interest of being a disingenuous grifter, which apparently I'm told that on Twitter every day, I'm really glad that Labour are going to get in power in the UK, because then I can make fun of them.
Yeah. Just so I can understand what you just said at the start of that, you were looking forward to a return to the good old Franco days.
Yeah, with high fertility rates and traditional values. No, I mean, obviously not Franco. I mean, but this is the thing. People, man, if you're even like a little bit right-wing, everybody's, oh, that means you like Hitler, that means you like Franco. It's like, no, they just, they're just rejecting some of that. And this is the thing, man. Like, centrist parties in the UK and across Europe have to listen to the people. There's so many policies around net zero, around uncontrolled immigration, open borders that just aren't popular with the people. So, listen to the people, and then, right-wing parties won't get into power.
Yeah, you would think that actually listening to the people is what elections are about. Yes, the result, even if you try to not listen to people.
But you can listen to the people, but far right. So I'm just thinking bald hairs, Dr. Martens. Can't listen to those people, surely.
So there should be like a dress code before you get to vote.
Yeah, because I'm
interesting. But I think they're some of the most marginalised people, and we need to elevate their voices.
Yeah, I agree with that. And finally, to the Daily Star, Victor. This is a big one.
Wait for the green man. So basically, fat people are getting penalised for crossing the road. They're going to make the lights last longer. I don't know how long it is, maybe 30 seconds to an hour, so that the fat people can cross the road. This is just ridiculous. They're just making things up. This is discrimination on fat people. Let them eat their food in peace.
This is discrimination on me as a motorist. I'm like trying to get somewhere, and now I've got to wait for somebody to waddle across the road.
Get out of the car.
At least previously, I could just, nudge them. As soon as it turns, my lights turn green, I can just nudge them with the cattle catcher.
Surely it's the other way around. If you're going to hit someone who doesn't weigh much, do very little damage to your car, you hit a large person, it could be a write-off.
Yeah.
But who's been sitting at the traffic lights and measuring how long it takes for fat people to cross the road?
Me.
Nobody.
Me.
Nobody.
I do it.
Yeah, nobody.
Well, that's it for part one. Part two awaits, with value added to the immigrant crisis and how Scotland isn't cooking on gas. We'll see you shortly.
Earlier on GB News Radio.
Now let me bring in Nicholas Owen now, former BBC News.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Monday to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, no, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the people's channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different. Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm here with a man who hates the BBC, Leo Kearse, and a man who's got one, Victor Daniel. Moving on to the Independent, Leo, and a low emission zone is causing a bit of a stink.
So Sadiq Khan is to stand by ULEZ after Starmer's stark warning over Uxbridge defeat. When I say ULEZ, it's not a homophobic slur, it's the ultra-low emissions zone, which Sadiq Khan wanted to expand out to the whole of, basically Cornwall, everywhere. He wanted the whole universe to be a ULEZ so he could raise money, because there's a huge hole in the middle of his finances because of lockdown. TfL, is down billions of pounds, so he needs to fill it somehow. So he's doing it by just basically holding everybody over a barrel and charging them £12.50 to drive anywhere across the whole of London. So this lost them the vote in Uxbridge. They were expected, that was Boris Johnson's seat, he stood down, so there was a by-election, and they were expected to lose that to Labour. Instead, the Tories held on to that seat, which is actually a victory for Rishi. Nobody's really sort of, pointing out that that wasn't expected to stay with the Tories. So a huge victory for Rishi. But Keir Starmer is furious about this ULEZ thing, so he phoned up Sadiq Khan and said, look, you've got to stop with this ULEZ nonsense. And Sadiq Khan has said, well, look, I still want all that money, so I'm still doing it. So he's still doing it. It's going to make him hugely unpopular with Londoners, but not unpopular enough, because I think not enough of them have got cars.
I don't want to accuse nobody of fraud, but Sadiq Khan's taking a cut. It's clear.
Yeah.
Nobody wants this. Nobody, even cyclists have voted against this. So it's clear to me that this is just a money-making exercise to penalise, again, the public. It's like they hate the public.
Yeah.
We're voting people that hate. We're voting for people that don't like us.
Yeah, they're just shaking us down, just squeezing us until they can feel the pips.
It was like Al Capone.
Yeah.
There was a news story a couple of weeks ago about the fact that councils will be able to fine you more for entering a box junction, like 100 quid for it. And I did think, if ever I'm fined 100 quid for being in a box junction, I'm staying there for a while.
Yeah.
That's 2 nights at some cheap hotel.
Especially with London rent and all that.
Exactly, yeah.
Imagine paying £12.50 to go Croydon.
I know. and a lot of people in the suburbs, that's where families live. It's not like, in the centre of London where you can get the tube everywhere. If you're in Uxbridge, you kind of need a car, and you've probably got a family, so, you got to drop the kids off at school or football or whatever.
Imagine you can't even go on a date now, because if you're going to go on a date, you want to know exactly what's going to happen, because I'm paying £12.50 before we've even eaten anything. So I need to know, are we going back to our
doubling
house?
the cost of the evening.
Yeah.
That on the dating apps, do you live in the ULEZ zone? So
exactly.
£12.50 every day. Nice.
Get on your line bike.
Onto the Telegraph, Victor, and we'd better hope that global warming is real, because Scotland might soon lose its gas heaters.
Oh, this is ridiculous. SNP plans to ban sale of homes with gas boilers. Scottish homeowners looking to sell may have to pay up to £10,000 for a heat pump. I don't even know what a heat pump is yet, but who the hell has £10,000 just laying around in their house?
Yeah.
I think it pumps heat.
I kind of figured that part.
Okay.
But it's just, again, another money-making exercise. I mean, you're going to have Scottish people moving to Croydon. I mean...
You already do. That's why I'm here.
Oh, sorry. Now that's making sense, because I was wondering why you was here. It's nuts.
Yeah, and so I suppose the argument is it's all about trying to reduce emissions or something. Bringing in the rule that means you can't build new properties with gas boilers is one thing, I suppose. But the idea that you can't sell the one you currently have unless you change it so it no longer has a gas boiler and then put in a heat pump. I suppose they don't actually say you have to put in a heat pump. You could just have a house with no heating.
Yeah.
You could sell it then, I suppose.
Yeah, just rip everything out. But it's ridiculous. I mean, at the moment, our whole infrastructure runs on oil and gas. And these heat pumps, they cost 4 times as much as a gas boiler. And they're not as effective. You don't get like a nice hot power shower. You get this sort of drizzling Greta Thunberg, you know, weak shower, which is not what you need in Scotland, because it gets very cold in Scotland. You want to get out the cold and jump in a hot shower and have proper heating in your house. And so, I mean, I don't know why they can't just let the market just replace things instead of trying to rush everything through. Like the move from coal to gas happened. You know, it's quite you know, not long-winded, but it wasn't forced through like this. But the Scottish government, who are sort of propped up by the Green Party, so Patrick Harvey, the Minister for Green stuff in Scotland, he's actually said it's far right. If you want to work in oil and gas in Scotland, you're far right. This is how indoctrinated and how crazy these people are. But unfortunately, in Scotland, you've got a sort of elective dictatorship because they've got that independence flag to wave. Nobody votes for anything else.
I think if it did take a while for the technology to come in, it would be better by the time we all have it. It's a great idea. It's a reverse fridge where you get this expansion of gas.
Microwave.
No. No, honestly, it's like you live on the outside of the fridge, which is the world. So you've got a pump that takes heat from outside and brings it in the house instead of like the opposite.
Sorry, nothing's a great idea for £10,000.
Yeah,
it shouldn't cost that.
A £10,000 fridge. I've already got a fridge, and it didn't cost anything. It came with a flat.
If you put your fridge facing outside with you living near the back of it,
why don't we just do that?
You've just saved yourself 10 grand there. There we go. Maybe don't try that at home. The Express, Leo, freedom of movement might return, so you don't have to have ex-steel workers as your au pairs.
So the UK could open its doors to thousands of young Europeans to plug the workforce gaps. They've got this youth mobility scheme, and the government likes it because it apparently doesn't count towards net migration figures. So these people come to the country and somehow just, you know, even though they got to live somewhere, so they've got to, like, you know, they're going to, you know, use housing and use service. They are here, but according to the government spreadsheet, they're not here. They're just temporarily here. So they sign this 2-year thing, and yeah, people can come here. I don't know. I kind of think it's. I mean, if it's this or just random people, random fighting age men coming across the channel and ripping up their passports on the way, coming from, you know, failed states with horrific medieval ideologies. I don't know. This sounds a lot better. So yeah, I mean, why not? If we need workers, until we can train the robots up, why not do this?
Is there a class thing here as well? Because I've never worried about where to get my au pair from. I didn't even really know what au pair means. I'm not of that strata in society.
But when I look into this, I just think to myself, we've got to question the British workers. Like, don't British people want to work anymore? It seems that we're more curious about making TikTok videos.
Did you work this morning?
No. But that's not the point. I'm working now. Yeah. But I think that's the key issue. Like, why are British people not working? We need to start getting British people into work.
Is it to do with pay, though? Like, forget about the bad bag. If I could pick stuff out of a field, there's a certain amount of money that I'd want for it. So you pay me that, I'd do that job. And if you don't offer to pay me that, I won't do the job.
Well, yeah, so we sort of need to rebalance the economy, and this is what we've seen with, with Brexit. So truckers, for example, get paid a lot more now because, you know, they're not competing with truckers from the continent anymore. And, you know, that's really why people voted for Brexit. If you don't have this sort of unlimited tap of workers that you can just turn on, then the workers that are in the UK have bargaining power. And we just need to let that sort of rebalance the economy a bit, because people should get paid more for stuff.
But if you're saying bring in young people, that means that the young people here aren't working. I think we might need to do another Brexit vote, you know?
Leave again.
It's just not working.
Leave even further.
Come back into Brexit.
We need people here to have kids. The problem is, you know, we're facing a demographic cliff because people aren't having enough kids.
Really?
Yeah,
Have you been to Newham?
Yeah.
Some people are having kids because where are you going to get an au pair from? The Guardian, Victor, it seems that for the UK government charity, it really does begin at home.
Yeah. What can I say? Absolutely physically knackered. UK workers...
Oh, I think we're on a different one. I might have skipped onto a different one.
Oh, yes, the one about the... hundreds of millions of pounds in UK aid returns to the Treasury and VAT on asylum hotel bills. So there's this, we've got a foreign aid budget. The UK is pretty generous with our foreign aid. So we give £13 billion a year in foreign aid. Unfortunately, none of it seems to go anywhere overseas. It's all gets spent on hotels for the people coming across the channel. And so then the government pockets a nice little chunk of it in the form of VAT. So that's actually made me feel a lot better about this whole farrago with cross-channel migrants and the cost to the taxpayer of the hotel bills. We're getting a dividend on that.
What hotels are they staying in? The Shard?
Man, basically, yeah. Basically, because there's not enough spaces, so they've got to put them up, and it's not like they can pick and choose. It's not like everywhere's like a travel lodge for £29 a night. They just got to take whatever's available. So sometimes it's like proper stately homes, hundreds of pounds a night. And yes, and even the TikTok adverts that the people traffickers put out to encourage people to use their services to cross the channel. They say like, look at these amazing hotels you're going to be staying in, and the British taxpayer's going to be paying for it.
I think Wetherspoons needs to open up a hotel and get some of these people in there, because this is ridiculous. How much? I heard millions are getting spent.
Oh man, yeah, it's crazy. Like, I think it's $6 million a day.
But this is the fault of the government, isn't it? The government, by not processing the backlog fast enough, then means loads of people need to be in a hotel, which then means they pocket the VAT off the back.
It's not the fault of the government. It's the fault of all the left-wing politicians, the human rights lawyers, the NGOs, the activists who stop the government doing anything about it. They're basically helping the people traffickers bring people across the channel. And we're talking thousands, tens of thousands every year. I think it was 45,000 last year. And so, I mean, that's a huge cost to the taxpayer, but it's also hugely dangerous for them. We see people dying, drowning in the Channel, and also in the Mediterranean when they're setting off in the journey.
I'm so confused. Ever since Brexit, there seems to be more foreigners coming into the countries, having hotels. I mean, do the taxpayers get a little refund there?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the story, I suppose, isn't it? The VAT comes back into the Exchequer, and I suppose the tax paid by the people who own the hotels. That's not even been mentioned, but I guess we get a kickback from that.
Yeah.
There's a money laundering thing.
And we get a cheap car wash as well.
Yeah.
From the people who are...
For £100, you can put these people up in a box junction. The Guardian, Leo, with a woman who says that her job has gotten harder in the last 2 decades, and it's nothing to do with the fact that she's now 20 years older.
So this is a teacher called Karen Wilson who started work as a secondary school teacher almost 40 years ago and found she had plenty of energy for life outside of school. She loved singing in choirs and opera groups and enjoyed her evenings. And now she is tired and has had to go part-time because she says the work is more draining now. But yeah, like you say, I mean, yeah, you were young then. Yeah. You had lots of energy. I mean, when I was 20, I was, I didn't need to sleep. I could, run around doing whatever. Now I can barely make it through an hour on GB News. So yeah, they're saying apparently UK workers are having more intensive working conditions. I think it's because of pointless bureaucracy, all the sort of HR, all the diversity and inclusion training and all that sort of nonsense. It just sort of expands like insulating foam in a cavity wall to take up all available bandwidth for companies' finances and people's time.
And it must be tough on the teachers. I mean, before there was 2 sexes, now there's 5,000. You've got to teach that to the kids. It must be so confusing and draining. I feel sorry for them, yeah. And I think we should go down to a 4-day a week.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what the problem is.
How many days a week are you doing at the moment?
Look, it's not about me.
Right, that's it for part 2. But coming up, we'll be talking about Gary Lineker, because of course we will, and we'll be talking about trans issues, because of course we will. We'll see you shortly.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office. I'm Marco Patagna. We hold on to unsettled weather conditions across the UK during the week ahead. I think we'll all see further rain at times and feeling quite chilly too in the brisk breeze. Low pressure is dominating at the moment, a fairly deep area of low pressure, gradually pulling away towards the east of the UK over the next day or so, but notice this slow-moving band of rain across the central slice of the UK. That continues to give some heavy bursts through the evening. In fact, we have a weather warning enforced until midnight. And that band then pushes south into southern parts of England and Wales into the early hours. The far southeast holds on to some clear spells and clearer with a few showers towards the north and northwest, but turning chilly under those clear spots towards the northwest too. Temperatures into single figures here. As for Monday, well, it's a case of fairly wet conditions across the south during the morning, some heavy bursts of rain at times, giving way to brighter skies from the north and northwest, but fresher air moving in too. So as we head into the afternoon, most parts are becoming brighter. Still a scattering of showers, particularly towards the north and northwest. And once again, fairly chilly for the time of year. Temperatures generally peaking in the mid-teens towards the north, a high down towards the south of 19 or 20 is 68 in Fahrenheit. Tuesday looks set to see another day of sunshine and showers. The showers quite well scattered towards the south and east of the UK, but quite a few packing in towards the north and northwest in a fairly chilly north to northwesterly breeze. And once again, temperatures peaking in the high teens, locally to around 20 degrees. Further rain is expected around the middle of the week, giving way to sunshine and showers again on Thursday.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes & Co, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not
believe in prisons?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard. We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think.
Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often they will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners to the Daily Mail, Victor. And is a planned terrorist attack racial if it was done on the Isle of Wight?
I'm going to change Daily Mail to Daily Nonsense. Here we go. Check out this story. Once upon a time now. But MI5 foil IS plot to target Isle of Wight festival for terror outrage on 90,000 people. MI5 operatives have foiled a plot from Islamic extremists to unleash terror at the Isle of Wight festival. I didn't even know Isle of Wight had a festival. But I do not believe the story.
Why?
It never happened.
Why?
The MI5 haven't been working for the last... They work from home. They don't do nothing.
Yeah, but look, we've had terror attacks in this country. We've had, you know, I mean, like, there, obviously in London there was the 7/7 attack. There was.
We've had terror attacks, but they're saying they foiled one in Isle of Wight. How can we verify this?
Because they'll have had teams of people working on it. They'll have an evidence trail. They'll have it all. I mean, they're not just like guys sitting in the pub, you know.
They are guys sitting in the pub. That's exactly what they are. They don't do no... There's a war in Ukraine. Send the MI5 to go over there.
But that's MI6.
Oh, whatever. Same team.
And I bet they are over there.
They're
MI6 will be over there.
They're working from home watching Netflix. They don't do nothing.
No, honestly, I believe that...
You believe this?
No, well, I believe this, but I do also believe that MI5 and like, all government departments are inherently lazy. But yeah, just, you know, ISIS... Like, we're going to bomb this festival, music festival in the Isle of Wight. And I don't know, but the thing with music festivals, all the people there, like Glastonbury and stuff, people are like, oh my God, open borders, hey man, you know, let everybody in. Meanwhile, they've got a big fence around them to stop anybody getting into their festival. But they're the ones who want the open borders, they're the ones who want the, you know, Islamic militants coming over, like Salman Abedi, the Manchester Arena bomber, who was rescued from Libya by the Royal Navy. So, yeah, I mean, if ISIS picked more deserving targets, I think people would have some sympathy for them. Like, I mean, like ISIS were doing these things in France where they like just drive a truck. They drive a truck at people having a picnic or whatever. It's like we got Just Stop Oil already in the street. Like what, you know, you could, and public opinion would be like, well, maybe there are some upsides to an Islamic caliphate.
Do you believe
you're
this?
clearing the roads for ambulances.
Do you believe this?
Of course I believe it.
No way, man.
How do you not believe this?
It's daily nonsense.
What are you talking about? There's been plots before. They've literally killed people.
They've done mass terror. When you're going to kill people, you're not going to kill people from Isle of Wight. They don't count nobody.
It's a festival on the Isle of Wight, so people go from all round to go to the Isle of Wight, and obviously the Isle of Wight is going to be easy to get, you know, to get.
And it's from a 15-year-old. That's who they caught.
Was it? Yeah. Oh yeah, 15-year-old boy was thought to be setting up an attack.
And some of the source comes from The Sun. I mean, seriously.
He's a prodigy.
Oh, behave.
They start young these days. Yeah. That's the point. Right, on to the Telegraph, Leo. Des Lynam clearly wants to join this station because he's been Gary Lineker bashing, which I believe is still part of the interview process.
So Des Lynam has told Gary Lineker to stick to football as he criticised the Match of the Day host for his political use of social media for the first time ever. So Gary Lineker is obviously, he's always tweeting all this, like, you know, oh, be kind, all this stuff, but also, you know, tweeting some pretty horrific and offensive stuff. He compared the government's policy on small boats crossings to Nazi Germany. And I don't remember people risking their lives to cross in rubber dinghies to get into Nazi Germany. They were trying to get out of it.
If he were here to defend himself, which, let's be honest, it's never going to happen, is it?
He's a terrible defender.
He would say, nice, but he would say he compared the use of language, not the policy.
All right, well, I interpreted it a different way, deliberately, to make him look even worse. But he is a pretty terrible guy, because, I mean, I judge people on their actions, not on what they say, because I'm right-wing. And Gary Lineker, for all his virtue signalling, he took £1.6 million from the Qatar state broadcaster while virtue signalling that, you know, Qatar's got all these, you know, human rights issues and stuff. He was pursued by HMRC for nearly £5 million in tax. And his excuse, his thing that said, look, I'm not a direct employee of the BBC because I'm a political activist. So his virtue signalling tweets were his excuse for getting off that tax bill. It's disgusting. And it's like, man, like people say, oh, Lawrence Fox is a bad guy. Lawrence Fox pays his tax. Like, whatever he tweets, he pays his tax. Gary Lineker should pay his tax.
You're very passionate about it.
I am very passionate.
I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to disturb your monologue.
But what about the freedom of speech argument? You know, he's free to tweet where, as long as he's not saying this in the middle of commentary about football, the thing he's paid for, surely a man can tweet whatever he wants.
A man can tweet whatever he wants, yeah, but I'm with Des Lynam. This guy's on millions of pounds a year. Shut up. Just get your money and just shut up. Don't, as we say, secure the bag. Just make sure you get paid. Going against the politics, you're just match of the day guy. No one's not interested in what you got to say.
He does have a fair few Twitter followers, though. I mean, the argument that no one's interested in it.
Yeah, but we followed him because he was doing football, and then now he's trying to switch it up into politics. If he carries on, his Twitter followers are going to come down. Yeah. I've unfollowed.
That's probably going to hit him hard, isn't it?
I know, he's upset.
The Daily Mail, Victor, people are accusing Waterstones of not wanting to sell books.
Oh, I love this one. Waterstone customers accuse bookshop of censorship amid claims that they can't find works from Sharon Davis and other gender-critical feminists, including Helen Joyce, on shelves. Tears came from my eyes when I read that story. But seriously, though, this is so bang out of order. When are we going to start to look into this properly? You can't have a man who turns into a woman and go and compete. Like, I've got a little son, he wants to be a footballer, but he's not very good. So I said to him, we're going to change your sex. You're going to become Karen Mbappe, and then you can play. I mean, that's what he's doing. So it's bang out of order. So obviously women are going to speak out about this. And another thing, what I like about this is finding there's a movement where I can meet lots of women and join in with their arguments and be on their side and attract more women.
As a gender-critical feminist.
As a gender-critical feminist.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, by the way, bank accounts, I'm not really a gender-critical feminist. That was a joke. I don't want no problems.
Leo, in the story, it did say that some people complain that the books were put on the shelf side on. You know, like books are stored.
Yeah, isn't that how you put books on a shelf? I mean, how do you put it upside down, like with the back facing? I mean, that's...
One of the complaints is that because these books weren't facing out, they were harder to see.
I've got to say...
the person that complaining, was her name Karen, by any chance?
I've got to say, like, when... I mean, I haven't been looking for books by Sharon Davies, but when Douglas Murray's latest book, The War in the West, came out, I went down to... I'm pretty sure it was Waterstones, near Chiswick, or in Chiswick, and I went down there, and I couldn't find it. And I'm like, where is this book? It's like #1. It's like, you know, the biggest book. It's out this week. And they were like, no, I don't think we've got it. And like, either they'd sold out of all their copies, or they were just hiding it because they're all woke. And the thing about it is, while they're not stocking Sharon Davies' book, because apparently she's this massive threat to humanity, they were stocking Anders Breivik's manifesto, this far-right murderous terrorist who killed 69 people, mostly teenagers, in a gun attack.
You're far right, though.
No, I'm not far right.
Same team.
No. I don't know what team is what team.
I'm just right wing.
Oh, you're just right.
I'm just right wing. I mean, I'm not plotting any terror attacks.
Okay, no. I don't feel safe all of a sudden.
just to ruin that story, like I always do, it was more that they got the data from publishers, where they get the ISBN number, the name of the book, and the name of the author, and they just list them all.
Right.
And it's millions of data that comes across. And then if they go through and find one that's a problem, they take it off, and that's what they've done with that. So you couldn't have bought his manifesto from Waterstones. It just turned up on their list of all books with ISBN.
Well, then where did I get this, Steve?
Daily Mail.
You just joking. All our jokes.
I'm joking. That's the notes for the next story.
Right, to the Telegraph, Leo, and the people behind Marmite have done something that won't please everyone.
So Unilever will allow its thousands of Russian workers to be conscripted into the Ukraine war as the row deepens over their decision to keep selling in Russia. It's disgusting. Unilever, so they own brands like Dove and Ben & Jerry's, so really sort of woke, virtue signalling brands. They pride themselves on having a social purpose. Dove is all fat women, it's inclusive. Everybody's got in the adverts is ugly because that's inclusive. Ben & Jerry's call everyone racist and homophobic and virtue signal all the time. Meanwhile, they're actually selling. They're working in Russia, whereas most Western companies have left Russia because I don't know if you noticed, but there's the invasion of Ukraine. They're working in Russia. They say their defence is that we're selling everyday essential food. Ben & Jerry's isn't everyday essential food. It's it's posh luxury ice cream for virtue signalling hippies. So yeah, it's ridiculous, and they're also paying a lot of tax to fund Putin's war effort. So Unilever paid £33 million worth of tax to Putin last year to pay for him to slaughter Ukrainian women and children.
Sounds bad when you put it like that.
Are you surprised by this, though? Because the brands that you list with the virtue signalling, they're the ones where the brand value counts. Like, Dove, friendly, ice cream.
I'm very surprised.
But Unilever is not a brand that anyone needs to know about. It's the one in the background, the big corporate that has no soul.
I don't know who Unilever are. That sounds like Breaking Bad. But what I don't understand is Marmite, Dove and Ben & Jerry's are selling while there's a war going on in Russia, and people are buying while there's a war going on. Is this war on PlayStation? These are the last things that'll be on my mind when there's a war going on.
But it's in Russia, so the war's not in Russia.
I know, but there's a war. Ukraine. I wouldn't even leave my house. If Britain's having a war with Ukraine, I'll be worried. Marmite would be the last thing on my mind.
No, sir. You've already got Marmite. That doesn't go off. Use the one that's on the...
I don't even know people eat Marmite still, to be honest.
It's disgusting. But soap, Right, that's it for part 3, but coming up in the final section, the Beano has gone woke, and are there aliens on Mars? No, but let's not ruin it yet. We'll see you shortly.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners on TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my new show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m, where real people get to meet those in power and hold them to account. Every week, we'll be hearing your views from up and down the country in the real world. Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it. So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I joined GB News because I was sick and tired of not hearing my views being represented, not just mine, but so many people that I knew and spoke to.
I just couldn't get my voice out there. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. Whatever the narrative was, I kind of had to follow it.
GB News is there to provide a voice for those who have been ignored by the establishment media. We think different things, we've got a different style.
GB News is here to be optimistic and positive about the future.
It's real kind of dynamic and flowing, with the audience very much at the heart of it, like a big family.
Here at GB News, we talk about the things that matter to you.
Hearing the voices from right across our towns and cities, especially our towns.
All sides of the argument represented with a heavy dose of opinion.
We're on a mission here to make a difference.
And the GB News family really is here for you, and whatever time of day you can watch or listen.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the final part of Headliners. Let's get straight back into it. And it turns out if you have surgery on your genitals, it can be a bit sore.
Yeah, Daily Nonsense coming with the top stories today. Trans surgery nightmares revealed 81% endure pain in the first 5 years after gender change procedures. I mean, if you're having your bits chopped off, there's going to be a little bit of pain.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, just a tab.
But this gender surgery is sold to us as like, oh, this is protecting kids and it's making them safe. And it's like, not apparently the third are left incontinent, 81% endure pain and, up to 5 years after the operation. So it doesn't sound that safe to me. I mean, I'd rather just keep my stuff where it is.
And you are allowed to keep your stuff where it is, though.
Well, this year we are, but Labour are getting in next year.
And they're saying that they suffer pain during sex. And 2 questions came to my mind, which maybe I don't want the answer to.
Oh, God.
I didn't know trans have sex. I'll be brutally honest. I didn't know.
Right.
And my second question is, with who? And my third one is, I don't even want to know.
One of those isn't a question.
Well, yeah, true. But I just don't want to know.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose when you read the full article, even the groups who are in favour of, I can't remember the euphemism that they use, but everyone is saying this is not something that should be done on children.
Right.
But then you get into the weeds on it and you realise that by taking puberty blockers, you actually make the surgery later possibly more painful.
Yeah.
Because you've not developed enough skin to turn into whatever the things they turn into.
Yeah, and then like so you don't have enough. Your penis doesn't get large enough to create a vagina, and also like girls sometimes have to have like skin taken off their arm or their leg to make a fake penis. But then a lot of trans people don't go through with the surgery because there's other issues as well.
Why?
Well, a third because like a third of them won't have an orgasm if they
really.
Go through, yeah.
You think?
And some of them are already quite angry, so they need to de-stress. So I think it's just as well that they keep hold of it and not hold of it like that, but I mean just You
lot know a lot about this.
I dated a trans girl.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Well, fair enough.
That's also on this show 3 times every section. Let's go to the Daily Mail, Leo, and the Beano has gone woke, so I guess that means you've got to stop buying it.
So after remaining mostly untouched for almost 7 decades, the Beano is going woke. The Bass Street Kids are being joined by 5 new pupils, Harsha, Mandy, Khadija, Mahira and Stevie Starr, in an effort to be more inclusive and illustrate the demographics of modern Britain. So they're going to have hijab-wearing artists and a wheelchair-using scientist. And they're also getting rid of Fatty and Spotty. Well, they're being given less pejorative names. So this has been done with the help of the publishing censors who came under fire for rewriting Roald Dahl's books. So I don't know if it's what the kids want,
And that's the thing, they do argue that they're doing this because that's what their audience wants, rather than they feel like they have to try and teach society how to be.
I agree. I mean, they're trying to be inclusive of everyone, yeah. But I read one part where they said they're going to have a black ghostwriter. I don't know if the people who do Beano are watching this programme right now, but black people do not hunt ghosts. So just cancel that character now. It's just wasting your time.
To the Mirror, Leo, and kids in Manchester were throwing eggs at police. Have they seen the price of eggs these days? It's terrible.
So hundreds of school kids storm Manchester and egg police in a disgraceful holiday stunt. A bit of a vicar's wife headline there. So basically, yeah, I mean, the kids are going on holiday, so they're tearing up the town and chucking eggs and stuff. I didn't do it when I was a kid, but it's a thing that kids do. Like my village was too small to do it. Everybody knew who you were, so you couldn't really get away with it.
Village?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm from Scotland. We don't really have anything apart from villages. So.
Glasgow, I just assumed.
Yeah, no, way out in the sticks. So we did have eggs. We had lots of eggs because there's chickens, but we didn't throw them.
Do you want to do... we've got a quick version of this, the Telegraph story, Victor, about the fact that there's some rocks on Mars. Were they caused by aliens? The story's saying no, but it doesn't write it that way, does it?
Yeah, the Telegraph are battling out for who can do the most nonsense story with the Daily Mail. And basically, they're saying alien spaceships could have landed on Mars. Scientists say they cannot discount possibility that pointy objects found on the red planet are debris from extraterrestrial vehicles. I don't know who smokes the most in the Telegraph or Daily Mail, but this is ridiculous. I mean, who knows if it was alien debris? It could have been Deliveroo drivers. We just don't know. And then I was reading it some more, and it says that there's a Dr. Nafael Kabul who works in the extraterrestrial intelligence. So that means there's a person who studies for aliens, studies for rocks, and there's a building where they look for aliens. Ridiculous.
So, I totally agree. The show's nearly over. Let's take a quick look at the front pages. The Daily Mail, I'm blessed with my cancer was caught quickly. The Times says Tory retreat from green policies to woo voters. The Guardian says thousands forced to flee roads, fire nightmare. Express, hell on earth. The iNews says Tories warned over fiddling with green policies while road burns. And the Daily Star says, wait for the Green Man. Those were your front pages. Thank you to my guests. We'll be back tomorrow to do it again at 11. And if you're watching the repeat at 5, stay tuned for breakfast.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office. I'm Marco Patania. We hold on to unsettled weather conditions across the UK during the week ahead. I think we'll all see further rain at times and feeling quite chilly too in the brisk breeze. Low pressure is dominating at the moment, a fairly deep area of low pressure, gradually pulling away towards the east of the UK over the next day or so. But notice this slow-moving band of rain across the central slice of the UK that continues to give some heavy bursts through the evening. In fact, we have a weather warning in force until midnight. And that band then pushes south into southern parts of England and Wales into the early hours. The far southeast holds on to some clear spells and clearer with a few showers towards the north and northwest, but turning chilly under those clear spots towards the northwest too. Temperatures into single figures here. As for Monday, well, it's a case of fairly wet conditions across the south during the morning, some heavy bursts of rain at times, giving way to brighter skies from the north and northwest, but fresher air moving in too. So as we head into the afternoon, most parts are becoming brighter. Still a scattering of showers, particularly towards the north and northwest. And once again, fairly chilly for the time of year. Temperatures generally peaking in the mid-teens towards the north, a high down towards the south of 19 or 20 is 68 in Fahrenheit. Tuesday looks set to see another day of sunshine and showers. The showers quite well scattered towards the south and east of the UK, but quite a few packing in towards the north and northwest in a fairly chilly north to northwesterly breeze. And once again, temperatures peaking in the high teens, locally to around 20 degrees. Further rain is expected around the middle of the week, giving way to sunshine and showers again on Thursday.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Monday to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics, and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, Nana, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different. Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good evening, I'm Rory Smith in the GB Newsroom. The government has sent a rapid deployment team to Rhodes to support British nationals as wildfires continue to spread across Greece. Evacuations are being described as the biggest in the country's history,